Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Woo, finally back together in the studio, back by popular demand. The non-lockdown, eased lockdown restrictions version of the No Shit Cast. Thanks for joining us on our journey into the Internet College of Infinite Knowledge. My co-host for this evening's festivities, none other than the Gray Wizard of Historical Knowledge himself, Mr. Eric D. Smith. How are you tonight, Mr. Smith?
It's nice to be back in the fold.
It's good, huh?
It's hard to be an outcast.
It is, yeah.
I didn't like it.
You don't like that sort of drifter persona?
No, I was like in that nondescript white padded room.
Well, welcome back into our black and blue checkered padded room, Mr. Smith.
Where there's a fire in the winter and a plasma generator every day.
Every day. Let's this is the absinthe.
The absinthe show. King.
Yeah, finally back together. We've weathered the storm. So as part of this easing of lockdown restrictions now, 10th Planet Newark has reopened. So yay, congratulations to John Barrows and 10th Planet Newark. So they are starting adult classes again, folks. If you're in the central Ohio area and want to do some murder yoga and learn how to strangle your neighbor,
if you like being choked or like choking people,
they've got, boy do I got something for you.
I got people I know that like it too.
So that was an announcement I want to make. Anyway, so when we did the Reed Dillashaw, and I guess kind of in response to the Reed Dillashaw podcast that we did about Tom O'Neill's book, Chaos, that Charles Manson book, and it did super, super well.
Nice.
And so some of the people I game with and things like that turned me on to this podcast called Last Pod on the Left. And so the No Shit Cast is not a podcast, crime and murder mystery podcast in any way, right? It just happened to be something that turned us on.
People should know.
I thought so.
Worth knowing.
I thought it was pretty important. But Last Pod on the Left is kind of focused on that kind of stuff. And if you enjoyed the podcast with Tom O'Neill's book and with that reading I did, check out Last Pod on the Left. That's a friend of mine, Claire. I don't even know what this girl's real name is, but her online name's Clairvoya. It's just somebody I play video games with. So shout out to Claire.
Far-seeing.
Yeah, right. She turned me on to that. So and she listens to this show.
Wow.
So something strange happened. Yeah.
Hello.
Something else with my Overwatch crew friends. One of the guys that I play with, and this is the first person that I know of that I speak with pretty regularly that tested positive for COVID-19. And I thought that was kind of weird. It sort of struck me. It's I don't know anybody yet. And I bet there's a lot of people, because they've sort of mitigated a lot of this, depending on where you live regionally, it may not even feel like it's a real thing because so few, you don't know anyone that it's happening to per se, except for, like you said, one time, celebrities and stuff. And that's a big deal. Everybody notices that, but we don't know those people. So they feel like a world apart from us, completely disconnected. And this is the first person that, no, he's asymptomatic, completely asymptomatic, but has to quarantine now until it runs its course or whatever. But
hard to wrap your head around a disease that you may not know you have because there's no symptoms.
It's crazy, right?
Hard to be too overly worried about a disease that doesn't do anything to you.
Or doesn't seem to, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, some people, obviously.
Right.
It does to, older people and compromised people and all that. But
slide that over this way a little bit more so we get you more directly. Yeah, and then turn the mic back towards you. There you go. Now turn the mic towards you. Yeah.
Mic etiquette.
Yeah, see, that's even better. They should sort of be between us, right? So I just want to put a shout out there to Swanky. His name's Swanky Tiger. Swanky, and
Swanky.
Good luck, and hope you get through this okay, and look forward to shooting people in the face with you real soon.
Yeah.
So I sent you a video. First of all, SpaceX scrubbed the launch today.
I
was
heard
I was
that,
hoping we
yeah.
would get to talk about that on the show, but they scrubbed it due to weather. I think they rescheduled it to Saturday. So about when you'll see this on video is when you'll be able to watch SpaceX shoot some humans into orbit. I thought that was pretty ballsy. I didn't realize that I thought they were just going to go up and give these guys a joyride. Like, woo, look, we did a space
But they're
thing.
going to do maintenance on that Tesla?
No, they're going to send them to the space station.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's fucking ballsy. Like, first time shooting anybody into space, and you're going to go dock with the International Space Station.
Well, the Russians do it. I mean, in all fairness, I mean.
So do you think that implies that it's pretty easy to do?
They're not known for spending the big bucks on their space program.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, they're pretty skimpy on that. I mean, we are too. We pretty much contract out to the lowest bidder, right? But I mean, it's SpaceX, right? Like,
Right.
It should be really good technology. Shouldn't be a problem.
I would hope not, man. 'Cause we're about to find out. This is one of the biggest tests
it'll
of
be
his
fine.
life. It's him. It's Elon. So either way, who else is building rockets?
Look, man, NASA's already on board with it. That should tell you how much
Everything you
better
need to
that
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that
everything you need to
NASA's
know.
like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, yeah.
We'll do that
Yeah.
for sure.
Less chance anything will go wrong, I would imagine.
So
I mean, they did put the brakes backwards on the space shuttle once.
they fixed that shit though, huh?
They fixed it, but they did. I mean, you ever put brakes on backwards on your own car?
No.
I haven't either, and I don't even know anything about that. So, like, I don't know. Ever since I heard that, I was always skeptical about NASA. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah,
and of course,
airplane.
there's the whole debacle with the O-ring thing too.
Yeah, the whole ring
Yeah,
fiasco, the
man.
Challenger.
Yeah, like any government process, people knew about it, but nobody did anything
Right.
until disaster. But it's fixed now.
Yeah, works good now. So yeah, so they scrapped that, but like you said, since NASA's part of it, it kind of gives you some idea of the validity. Plus, they've been putting billion-dollar satellites on his rockets now, and he's been shooting them into space.
Yeah.
Plus, all of his own satellites.
Yeah.
He would be such a Bond villain otherwise.
Oh,
if he wasn't,
geez.
he's strange, eccentric.
Yeah.
He's got his own fucking missile program, like
Right? Yeah. His own internet program,
His
missile
own internet-
program,
yeah.
rocket program, brain invasive CPU program or whatever the hell.
Our Lord and Savior Elon Musk. All hail Elon Musk.
my.
He's gonna be. It's his kid that I think is gonna be the one that runs like everything.
It'd make a good
The chosen
Antichrist.
one. The claw has chosen you. Right, an Antichrist. Right. So I sent you. I got the wildest conspiracy video sent to me. One of them circulating bullshit things going around that was linking. And I kid you not, the Antichrist, the end of the world, 5G, COVID, Bill Gates, what am I missing? There's some you watched it. I sent
Illuminati.
it to you. The Illuminati.
And to some degree,
666, Mark of the Beast is
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
I said the Antichrist, right? Yeah,
the
that's
Matrix
in there.
movie theory where you're going to be like turned on by 5G
Yeah.
and be a part of a network. Sort of a weird.
Oh, that
theory,
was
I don't know what you
one
call
of my
that.
favorite parts of it was where
Yeah.
people become retransmitters
Yeah.
somehow.
For the Illuminati, who are in league with Satan or something. Yeah.
And
was
it's
crazy.
It's painful because there's so much wrong about it that's demonstrably wrong, but invariably these things are going to come along, and a part of it's going to land on something that you might have some particular relevant experience in, say being trained as a radio and radar weapons specialist by the United States Navy might let you know a little bit of something about how the radio frequency transmissions of energy actually works. And it is so fucking insulting that people that know that about you, when you tell them that's all complete garbage, tell you that you're the one that's wrong, and then you somehow become part of the conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Especially
the mental
since you
gymnastics.
used to be in the military.
Yeah.
You're already still probably part of that conspiracy.
That's
you might
it.
say you're out of the military, but we know.
Well, I'm a fully controlled entity of the government and the Illuminati.
Mhm.
Like, they finally called, and I
Mhm.
joined. That's what happened.
And we've mentioned that before. Even. We have. we have alluded to that you have some
what
secret
it is.
connections to the government. and
I do.
stuff.
I do belong to certain secret societies. I'll be fully honest about that.
Yeah.
But I won't say which ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Figure it out, folks.
He's got some stuff hidden.
I got the good.
He's got aces up his sleeve.
But it either means that A, I'm inside and I know what I'm talking about, or B, when I tell you that the way that human beings do not retransmit radio fucking energy because they don't, you got to trust me that I know what in the fuck I'm talking about.
And you should at some point hear, hey, man, thanks for taking the time to explain that.
Yeah. You would think, oh, wow, okay. You know, I can just discount this thing, you know, and maybe not the whole thing because maybe the person's not wrong about everything.
Well, he's got my vote.
But in this case, the person was fucking wrong about everything.
I have seen something almost as crazy as that, and if I can find it
There's
again,
a bunch
I'll
of them
send it
going
to
around
you.
out there now.
Yeah, I mean, this is an older one, and it's about UFOs, Jewish people in the Bible.
Oh my God!
Right? Yeah, I mean, it really is. They're like Jews are from outer space. It's what it postulates.
Jews in space?
Jews are from outer space.
That was a Mel Brooks
I
joke,
know,
right?
I know.
Jews in space.
I think that every time I watch this, but it's done up like a little cartoon. And
Okay.
And I keep thinking someday I just want to make a game Milo out of it. I just want to like make a game world that's based on what that video says is happening because it sounds like it would be a crazy world, you know, like Jews are from outer space and all that ancient alien stuff would just come into play, the Ancient of Days and everything. It would just be
the amazing mental leaps that you have to take to connect some of this stuff together. The glue that it just amazes me how passionately these folks propagate this stuff and how passionately they believe in it, you know. And it doesn't take much to go out and do a real simple Google search about any key detail.
Yeah.
But it's like you watch this guy, right? He bounces from subject to subject and detail to detail so fast and stitches a bunch of stuff together that doesn't connect in any way at all.
Yeah.
But he does it so quickly, it's almost like an art. It's like a hypnotism almost.
Trump, right? Oh no, you're
talking
talking
about the guy in the video. Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, for a minute, I thought you were talking. I mean, you could have said that exact same thing about some of the stuff I've heard him say, like about windmills and stuff. Like, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit, like that windmill poem, or was that a speech?
The windmills cause cancer.
Well,
that was
Trump talking about windmills.
I think that might have been a press briefing
or
something.
I thought it was a poetry reading or something. Okay.
Dude, you know, I was thinking about this because it's one of the topics we never really cover here, only by maybe inference, things like politics, because I don't really, especially identity politics and or party politics.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I think it might be so hard to kind of figure out maybe where we come down is because we don't do that. But the reason I don't do it is I'd be more than happy to talk about the function of politics.
Sure.
But I'm not going to discuss Democrats versus Republicans.
There's a million podcasts out there where you can get that content.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not even fucking because I'm really not interested in shit that doesn't change anything or doesn't work.
Right.
It demonstrably is not worth the time.
And that was the expertise I have. Mine is definitely not in politics.
I'd rather talk about like fucking energy technologies and things that actually change shit and make life better for people than that kind of crap.
The longest conversation I've had about politics was about 2.5, 3 years ago when me and you were talking that day.
You were fucking with me.
Yeah, and I was just trying to be argumentative, as passive argumentative, and as much as I could. Right. And this went on for like 20 minutes.
Yes.
And then you looked at me and you're like, dude, are you being facetious? I'm like, absolutely, dude. I'm just absolutely trying to be a dick as much as possible with everything you say and disagree with it.
That even took me back. I was like,
I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no opinions on what you're talking about. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just disagreeing with you.
Nor do I care.
Right? Yeah. I'm just trying to disagree with you. It became obvious at one point. Like there's just no reasoning. It was just argumentative, and you're like, man, I've never seen you like this. I'm not like this.
Oh, dude, the fuckery runneth over right now, and the bullshit and the paranoia.
Yeah, you might not have noticed if I did that 2 months ago.
No, maybe not. Yeah.
But 2.5 years ago, it was a bit odd.
Yeah, given the circumstances, it
Yeah,
wouldn't be as
things
bad.
were a bit more normal then.
So, one of the things I wanted to touch on as we head into the land of our land of articles that I think are interesting, but clickbait headline article bonanza here. But the Podfather, in a lot of ways, although Tom Green is argued is the guy that actually started podcasting, and then Adam Curry was the guy, the guy from MTV that sort of created the standard, the RSS feed, and all that this all sort of works from.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy that sort of put it all together,
Godfather.
the Podfather, if you will, is Joe Rogan. He's the
Yeah.
one that really sort of started out and put it on the map as a medium and stuff. Well, this motherfucker just went and signed a licensing deal for his IP with Spotify, and I think so. The face value of the deal is over $100 million. That's for 3 years. And then obviously there's shit on the back end that he's wetting his beak with, like probably advertising milestones and stuff like that. So I've heard people speculating that this is as much as $250 million value deal for 3 years for fucking podcasting.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
That's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So the original sort of, and we'll go through this in the article a little bit, up here, but was that he was upset with YouTube and the censorship going on at YouTube and the things that are going on, because there's a lot of bullshit going on, believe it or not, with YouTube and the way that they're shutting people's channels down and the way that they are censoring people from, and a lot of it just comes off as just grossly unfair and or unevenly even applied, depending on which side of the ideological spectrum you might find yourself on, right? And so he's been real vocal about that pissing him off. And so a lot of people at first thought he was doing this because he will still be on YouTube for the first year, but I think or maybe not, but once Spotify puts their video service online, he's moving all of his IP off of YouTube. So they're going to lose all of the advertising revenue that they're getting from him right now.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people thought that he was doing this out of some sort of spite, and he cleared that up. I seen him. He had called into a guy that runs a podcast that's pretty good friends with him, and he said that it isn't because of that. It was strictly because Spotify made him a hell of a fucking deal. So there's some real interesting shit going on out there in the community, in the pool in which
trading cards are being traded,
moved around. There's, because what's I think's happened with YouTube is when YouTube started out, they valued their content providers, and because they needed them, right? YouTube didn't exist without people putting stuff on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
so they treated them people as a valuable commodity.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, YouTube, I think, has started drinking their own Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. And started to believe that they're what's valuable, and the content providers should just be lucky that they exist, kind of thing, that YouTube exists. But now along comes Spotify, which is going, we're the No Shitcast audio is already on Spotify, mm-hmm. and they're going to be rolling out a video platform, and I'm going to be putting the No Shitcast will absolutely be there as soon as it becomes available. We'll be putting it up there as well.
Yeah.
And I think that this kind of competition bodes well for us.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because either YouTube's going to have to start valuing its content providers better and differently, or they're going to lose all of that advertising revenue to organizations like Spotify.
Yeah. And wherever a vacuum is created, there's an opportunity.
This is true. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think for something to really change the trend, because YouTube's just been paramount with this kind of stuff since the beginning, and because they had such an early start at it, nothing's really challenged their supremacy. Yeah. Take somebody like a Joe Rogan. There's a podcast called The Ring that's moving. We're talking about tens of millions of regular downloads and subscribers here collectively. It's a big deal. Teens of millions anyway. that can kind of move a needle, because once people are sort of going there regularly,
Mm-hmm.
then it's, well, what else can I find?
Yeah, and
here,
so many
you know?
people are using the Spotify platform already.
Yes.
There's been people who I've introduced the show to, and they're like, "Hey, do you have it on Spotify?"
Yeah. It's easily
It's either
accessible that way.
Spotify or Pandora has been the two biggest questions.
Yeah, I don't think we're on Pandora. Are we on Pandora? I don't know.
I thought we were.
I didn't think Pandora had podcasts.
Well, I don't
I'll
know.
find out if they do. I'll move us over there too. But I didn't even think that was a possibility. So anyway, that's kind of the news. So the article says Spotify is saying basically, quote, "We value this podcast more than we value any single artist on our platform," says music research analyst Mark Mulligan. So this is from Rolling Stone. The headline reading, "With its Joe Rogan deal, Spotify is moving closer to podcast supremacy." So the thing that Rolling Stone is sort of saying there is, but they don't pay any music artists near that much. So Spotify shook up the podcast world on Tuesday when popular and polarizing podcaster Joe Rogan announced his show, The Joe Rogan Experience, would become a Spotify exclusive this September. But it wasn't a total surprise. The news further bolstered Spotify's high-profile podcasting moves from the past year and a half. So, they've been buying outright other podcasts, not just the IP, but just buying them outright. And they've been making big moves in this space, spending real money. But, we know iHeartRadio is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're investing heavily right now in produced shows and things, because we kind of hear this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that I did ask about that again, but actually the first time I've asked about it, but I haven't got any reply back.
Not yet.
So yeah.
The exclusive Joe Rogan deal exceeded $100 million, according to the Wall Street Journal, making it one of the largest single podcast deals the industry's ever seen. But see, now someone's done it. So now that's the new ceiling, minimum, kind of, maximum kind of thing, until someone breaks through that.
Yeah, this is like when in Cleopatra, the leading female role, she was paid $1 million. She was the first actress.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
And that kind of broke that ceiling again,
Yep.
and people and she wanted her husband to be able to shoot the whole movie had to be shot in the film that he produced, Todd A.O.
Okay.
It was this like weird kind of film that he had made, and so that was the main deal. She got $1 million.
Wow.
And the film was shot in
Look at
Todd
just slinging dick. Like, it's going to be this, and it's going to be that.
Right, yeah. I guess it was Elizabeth Taylor, right?
It might have been. Yeah,
so.
Liz Taylor. I believe that. Absolutely. She was a juggernaut.
Yeah.
In her day, yeah.
So he's kind of doing the same thing, man. He's setting.
Yeah, she married fucking the Prince of Monaco or something
she
at one
did.
time, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah. So. That's the second smallest country in the world. The first smallest is the Vatican.
Yes, right.
And then Monaco.
Says it was clearly a big enough offer to get Rogan, who earns a hefty ad revenue via his 8 million YouTube subscribers following, to remove his previous podcast from YouTube later this year. The deal, which sent Spotify's stock rocketing upward this week, is the company's most serious step into podcasting so far. Yeah, I seen another analyst said that Spotify, for that $100 million deal with Joe Rogan, the company made back $10 per dollar they spent on him, and just the stock value increase. Yeah. Huh. So they're like fucking. Okay,
everybody's happy.
It was happy. So they're looking for another win like that.
Yeah.
YouTube needs to watch its ass now.
Oh yeah.
Whereas other streaming services like Apple and Amazon don't have to rely on their music platforms for broader profitability, Spotify does, meaning it has to aggressively expand its non-music offerings if it doesn't want to rely on record companies for revenue forever. You want to sell the No Shit Cast to Spotify, Eric?
Can we?
I'm entertaining offers.
All right. We'll just start another podcast. Episode 1.
No, they buy the podcast. We put that in the bank and retire on it, right? And then they pay us to keep doing it. I'm just open for. I'm just saying. Medea Research Managing Director Mark Mulligan tells Rolling Stone that moves like these, which also expand Spotify's audience and age reach, can turn Spotify into the single biggest force in audio on the planet, the same way Facebook became the single biggest force in social media. The rewards could be high, but the bet is still risky, Mulligan says, pointing out that Spotify faces tighter advertising from the coming recession. Yeah, but it's going to be also a weeding away of the ones that are barely getting by. They're going to drop off first.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be a redistribution of that subscribership.
All the internet virtual stuff's done pretty good.
Yeah, very much.
And may still continue to do pretty well even in a recession.
I would think so. Yeah, because I mean, it's attainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually still doing better than secular traditional media.
Yeah.
That's why all the advertising dollars is heading this way. However, a powerful podcasting business can draw new ad dollars and grab old radio listeners the way music streaming took the younger ones. And Spotify shows no signs of letting up yet. So who's next on Spotify's shopping list?
We are.
Us, call us. Mulligan calls fellow Swedish company Acast we're on Acast too. An obvious potential target that could bring lots of content to Spotify. And he also mentions podcast subscription service Luminary, which is looking for more cash due to its struggling business. According to Bloomberg, podcast players like Downcast and Overcast would also be available options, Mulligan says, and we're on Overcast.
I feel bad that there's probably some people that listen to our podcast that hate it, that we want to sell our podcast to a studio.
I've never hidden the fact that I'm doing this for money.
No, but it sucks that there's people that wouldn't want that. I want that.
I don't. So the problem is I don't know what fucking benefit I would have selling it.
I don't know.
What would we gain? It would be. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And right now, I don't have to answer to anybody. I can do it whenever. You know what I mean? So, it would take something ludicrous, because I do it because I love it, right? So there's no benefit. There's no production value. Maybe a little bit better that we might get. We have the same equipment. We have. I don't know what the benefit would be to even sell it.
Same thing with me and music. I pretty much feel that way about.
Yeah,
music.
Right. So as long as we keep putting out a product that resonates with people and people like,
I'm happy.
And there's an ad revenue system in place, I don't know what I would fucking sell it for. What would I be selling?
I don't know. Ideas, concepts,
right?
IP.
So like we were talking about the whole COVID thing, right?
So we're allowed to say that now?
I don't give a shit anymore.
You just don't like the Backstreet Boys.
I just don't want to say Backstreet Boys anymore.
I don't blame you.
Weird.
And it's certainly going to draw the attention of some algorithm somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we keep saying Backstreet Boys.
I've been watching the consternation raging on social media about
the Backstreet Boys.
No, states reopening because of the Backstreet Boys or the absence of Backstreet Boys, whatever. And one of the things that it's funny is like it seems like so many people are completely focused on the legality issues of reopening, like the restrictions and all of that. And no one's talking about whether people are going to actually fucking show up or feel safe enough to want to show up, even if you did reopen. You see what I mean? Like there's two pieces
on the weather and the place.
Right. There's two pieces to this equation. It's not just that of course the businesses have to be open for people to patron them, right? Patronize them. Yeah. But they have to feel safe enough about doing it to actually go do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the other side of this equation. So I seen this article, and it resonates with that idea that despite reopening, Americans don't really want to go to restaurants or the gym. Okay, this is from ZME Science. A recent poll suggests that many Americans would not want to return to restaurants and gyms, even though they might be allowed to.
And who's the author of this?
Tibby Pooey.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
You're a dick.
I am.
There's tremendous pressure to reopen the economy in the United States, although the number of cases is still mounting in many states. However, even if businesses open their doors to customers, who will they serve if the Americans are anxious about getting sick? So see, this is a problem, right? Because almost all businesses are all ran under lean manufacturing or some sort of lean principle, which is why you can take billion-dollar companies and change their earnings by like 5%, and they have to file bankruptcy and they go out of business because it's a house of cards. Like that valuation, yes, it absolutely is there, but a lot of that is sucked up in the monster to keep it afloat.
Yeah.
And so if you have a change in attitude towards things like eating out or whatever, of as much as little as like 3 to 5%, that could in and of itself literally devastate entire industries rapidly.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, like I said, like the focus and all of the anger and the angst and everything seems to be about, we got to get everything reopened, got to reopen. You can fucking reopen everything, but if nobody shows up, or a statistically significant less amount of people show up,
yes,
it's almost
on a
worse.
margin of like 5%.
Right. So now what you've done is the inevitable has happened is that the business has gone out anyway, but in the process of it's going under, it's risked cross-contamination from people because they went back out.
Well, here in our local
it's
town,
a weird perilous razor edge that's got to be walked here. You know, I'm not saying things shouldn't be reopened.
I'm not seeing.
I'm glad to a certain level we're reopened, right?
Yeah.
But there's this weird sort of fine, really razor thin edge. It's going to have to be sort of walked to pull this off without just trashing everything and killing a bunch of people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Good Lord.
I mean, the way.
What are you doing?
Just relaxing, dude.
Yeah. Now you're like super loud.
Oh shit. Okay.
Can't win for losing, can you?
No, it's me. No, you can't win with me. You know that. I don't know. People around here, they are. I live above a bar, and the first day that was open, it was packed.
Yeah.
And people were asking me like, "Well, were they? Did they have the right number of people?" I'm like, I don't know. They had people on the back patio, the front patio, inside. I'm like, I don't know how many people was there. I don't know how they kept track of it. I don't
Jukeboxes
think
jamming.
Yeah, people laughing and hooting and hollering and stuff through the night. A block away, there was a group of recently graduated kids who were throwing a beach party on their porch, all wearing like bikinis and shorts, and had beach balls, and they were all packed on the porch. I mean, this whole summer holiday, Memorial Day, that's all I seen was people packed in places and stuff. Like I didn't see anybody. There's some people that had masks, but not many.
Yeah.
I heard my professor, Dr. Summerford, remarking about the difference between here and Pickerington. And he was saying that so many more people were wearing masks in Pickerington. But down here, it was like we'd all given up and just didn't care anymore.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's kind of the feeling I've been getting too around here.
It's just like fuck it kind of attitude.
Around here, man, it really seems that way.
Well, so some of this I think is that's anecdotal, obviously, and respectable because I've seen it on the news. It seems to be sort of the tenor of everything everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like it depends on where and the weather.
Yeah.
If you're talking about beaches on Memorial Day.
Yeah,
they were packed.
Right. But what I want to see is what this looks like because the real measurement of all of this is going to be in earnings reports and earnings statements, and I want to see what this looks like in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Because some of this feels like cabin fever and just blowing off a lot of steam.
We're going to find out 14 days from now. Once.
Well, here's what the polling data sort of says, though. Too, it says, if these activities were allowed in the next few weeks, would you? Well, prior to COVID-19, 81% would visit family and friends, but then after, in the next few weeks, they're only 73%. So these are people that would say, if things were going normal in the next few weeks, would you visit? If there was no COVID, would you visit family and friends? 81% of them are saying yes. But with COVID-19 in the next few weeks, would you not? And then it's down to 73% say yes. So some of the data in here, right? Get a haircut, significantly less, right? 72 to 54%. Okay. And there's a lot there. Here's the one that struck me the funniest because I already cheated and looked through this one. Attend religious services. It's the widest delta by far, which I think is ironic as shit, right? It's 67% without COVID-19 would be attending religious services, but only 38% will attend.
So far, churches and rest homes have been the biggest outbreaks, they've said.
I don't know who they is though.
Like just
That
what
you've
I've heard, the
heard. Yeah.
reports and
Okay.
stuff, usually like via NPR.
So this
Um,
data now.
Speaking of which, on NPR, they were
Yeah.
doing a show about a woman who was a hairdresser
Right.
who was doing like underground haircuts and stuff and didn't want her name to be
Oh,
shown.
she got sick and got a. And was,
No, she didn't get anybody sick. She just didn't want her name to get out because then the license people.
oh, they'll take her license.
Yeah,
Black market hair.
yeah, but she was making hand over fist. She said that she realized on the second day that it was going to be a problem, that she couldn't possibly give everyone haircuts they wanted.
Yeah.
So when you see that, it's like, well, I see that, but I'm also hearing stories about people
kind
who
of
are
shit.
overwhelmed
Yeah.
in the middle of it. You know,
Fascinating,
it's like,
isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's like, I don't really know. Like you said, we're going to have to wait and see what happens, man.
Now, a buddy of mine, when I posted this on Facebook, a buddy of mine did take a dive. Brad Kaiser did take a dive into the sample size and some of the under the hood. And there's definitely, this is a small sample set. It isn't huge. It's like 1,500 people or something like that.
Yeah.
And we don't know where they're distributing that sample set across geographic areas, to your point. So, but it is at least a data set. So take it for what it's worth. But I don't know that we're you can say that. I think the only poll that's going to matter is going to be the poll that people use and vote with their dollars.
I know that being so anti-political, I have a lot of different people on my feed that some of them diametrically opposed
to each other.
Each other, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have seen a easily detectable shift in skepticism from people who were worried about this virus shifting into being skeptical if there was ever a reason to be worried.
I can't say I'm 100% and that we look. I know there's a lot of dead bodies, and I know that they've so that's all very real. Okay. However, the reason I'm skeptical is because I think what the data told us is that at risk there were certain types of demographics of people that were at much higher at risk than other demographics of people. And that the application of the way everything was locked up, shut down, tied up, whatever, almost seems grossly exaggerated to what if they would just harden.
And of course, I've heard the people say that if you can't understand that we lessened the blow and softened the curve with what we did and it was right and it worked without becoming skeptical person.
No, listen to what I'm saying though. There was no calculated response, so the only response they had was to turn the whole fucking machine off because there was no alternative systems to handle this kind of stuff, if you will. Okay, if I can put it in that kind of.
I think
I'm agreeing with those people. I'm not saying I agree. Yeah, we had to do what we had to do because we had nothing else in the absence of that.
Well,
and I'm pissed because had there been a critical review of the data, a respect for science and scientists, and listening, there would have been the ability to have ad hoc as necessary levels of testing, personal protective equipment, the ability to harden at-risk populations.
And I know...
And wouldn't have had to be near as intrusive into the economy and our lives as it has had to be.
And I know people who would say that the only thing that you're proving by putting on a mask is that you'll do what you're told when the government tells you to do what you're told.
Yeah, it's silly, isn't it?
That it's so fake that...
I get dirty looks. I wear one all the time. Out in public especially. But I wear
isn't
a
it
mask
weird
all
how
the
there
time.
can be just such a dichotomy in people?
Yeah.
That it can go from one extreme to the other. Some people are scared and staying in their house and won't go anywhere. Some people are resentful that you would even ask them to put a mask on because they figure...
I'll tell you this. So in my life, I've had the luxury of growing up in Appalachia. So I was born into and raised in this is anecdotal
religious family.
This is all anecdotal. A highly superstitious and highly religious, born again, going to hellfire and brimstone,
Anabaptist,
speaking in tongues, fucking Pentecostal, upbringing. And throughout my life, I then became a technician. I then became an engineer. I then started to have to work with and be around people like engineers and scientists more and more on a more and more regular basis. And in my entire life, I have now come to the conclusion that if I'm going to have to bet my life on anything, it is going to be scientists and engineers every fucking time without question.
On your deathbed.
On my deathbed, it will be scientists and engineers because it has never fooled me. It has never lied to me. It has never let me down, science and engineering. And my ultra religious upbringing did nothing but lie to me and let me down.
Yeah.
Without question.
And probably bring you down.
And bring me down, yeah. So there's no question for me whether I wear a mask or not. I wear a mask because I'm an engineer by trade. I wear a mask because I believe in physics and science and biology and this kind of shit. So there's no question as whether I'm going to wear one or not. I believe in science.
Yeah.
If you don't fucking wear one. Science doesn't give a shit if you believe in it or not. It's still going to affect you.
Physics. If you believe in God, you can wear a cross and it's just as good as a mask.
That's right. Just saying, you knock yourself out, man. But I think that there's a law, what do you call it? It's not, someone said to me that, it's Darwinian. It's not. It's natural selection. Okay. Is it going to affect everybody?
That's evolution.
Yeah. But is it going to affect everybody equally and fairly? No, because nature rarely does that.
No.
However, there is a proportion of the population that will ultimately be unnecessarily putting themselves at risk, and that portion of the population, a percentage of them, will eliminate themselves from the gene pool.
Yeah, and it might even be a situation where people go and migrate to an island, and eventually they get rid of the main food source and have to use the secondary food source, which inevitably kills them, and they die off. And then, like, later on, that same populace will branch off and migrate to the island, and they'll, after they've been gone, that food source has grown back, both of them, and they'll use that main first one again, but then they'll eventually get down to that second one again, and it will poison them again, and they'll die. Just
rinse, repeat.
Yeah, just like those birds. I'm making fun of those birds. They would go to that island, lose their wings,
and then drown,
and then the island would uncover, and another group of birds would come back and just do it again. It's like, stupid can happen repeatedly.
Yeah, it's not there's no exclusivity.
No, it can just keep happening again and again,
over and over, man.
Yep.
So recently, this hyper realistic game engine came out. From the people that make the Unreal Engine.
Looks like
futurism. This thing is insane, dude. And I won't dwell too long on it, but this is photorealism in a completely rendered video game environment. This is like looking like something that was photographed versus something, because video games often are stylized, but they rarely, you can look at them and go, oh yeah, that's. This is not that way. And they've done some shit. That's the Unreal Engine 5. I just encourage everybody to go check this out, man. There's a video associated with this, Eric, that is mind-numbing.
I've seen this video.
Oh, you did see it. So
I did.
You agree with what I'm saying. Like, when you look at this thing when it's...
I don't...
I'm not going to play it, but that... the whole thing, but that's all rendered.
Yeah.
And it looks like, in all the lighting, the refractions, everything in it is like super real, super detailed, fully interactive environments now. Like, this is nuts. This is like the first step into the fucking Matrix, man.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. If you get a chance, check out the Unreal 5 engine videos, folks. It's really, really impressive.
There'll be some interesting stuff coming out with it, I bet. Maybe even making movies.
You think so?
Well, why not?
Why not? I don't think that we're ever going to see an actor film an action scene. Like, I mean, even with the new Marvel movies, they quit doing that. It's all CGI now, all that crazy stuff. So, of course, it's coming, right? So this is from Maxim magazine. The new electric VTOL air speeders is like flying a Formula One race car. Futuristic racing drone takes electric flying cars to the next level. So people have taken the drone technology, the quadricopter technology, and have made it bigger.
What's that stand for? I can't remember.
What?
V2.
Vertical takeoff and landing.
Okay.
VTOL. Yep.
There's in Mega Traveler, there was a whole supplement dedicated to these kind of things.
Yeah.
And it was like the far future, right? So you had these.
Yeah.
It's so weird because, hey, we have these.
This is badass, man. They're making like a racing league where human beings get in these things and race it around a track like a Red Bull racing kind of fucking crazy thing. That's what
Nice.
these are piloted.
Yeah, I can see it's got a cockpit.
That's mental, man. That's crazy. And they already, so they're flying this shit, right? It's out there.
Well,
We seen there was a guy in the Philippines that was making one.
I remember we talked about that.
And I tried to get him on the show, and then his lawyer didn't want to talk to us. So we ended up not doing it. I don't know why I can't get into this video to fast forward it. So screw it. We won't watch it. Oh, maybe we can. Nope. Okay, moving on. But according to Rob report, Sydney, Australia-based A Lot of Racing will pump new life into air racing by building a piloted flying vehicle, the Airspeeder, for future international race series.
The Airspeeder. It's like the land speeder.
Oh, I dig it, dude.
Star Wars.
I'm a fan already. Hopefully they put guns on them and let them shoot each other down.
Hell yeah.
That'd be even better,
even
right?
fake lasers would be fun. Like a little laser tag,
Right?
Beep. Oh, shit.
Gun laser.
Just lost a propeller.
Yeah, they do that with airplanes now where they go up and virtually dogfight.
Yeah. Why not?
The science fiction friendly but very real electric vertical takeoff and landing eVTOL airspeeders you see in these images do make it feel like the 21st century is getting closer to the future some imagined when they were watching old cartoons like the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Alada's airspeeder drone first took off in 2019 at the Goodwill Festival of Speed. An eVTOL, it has been created to be what the company terms an efficient and highly effective flying car for commercial use. That looks badass.
It sure does.
Okay. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Airspeeder CEO Matt Pearson has described the Airspeeder as a kind of hybrid Formula One racer and high-end drone. The unmanned version can attain up to 125 miles an hour. Unmanned, right. And are equipped with cameras that promise an intense experience even for a ground-based pilot. Here are more details from Rob Report. The series will be based on a single drone platform provided to different teams. That's Formula One. They do that. Pearson says the series will go beyond just racing and will help develop eVTOL technology for the future of urban and air mobility. The Airspeeder will sport a swappable 500 kilowatt battery pack flying the aircraft's four arms. That's a weird way to say that. With 424 kilowatt electric motor, dual motors at each end, so there's built-in redundancy. The aircraft weighs 550 pounds. It's capable of carrying up to 2,200 pounds,
wow,
which is about a better power-weight ratio than a Formula One car. Nuts. It will rely on LiDAR to avoid obstacles. Like most serious drones, the Airspeeders are built to take some punishment and be rebuilt fairly quickly in a race environment. Yeah, unlike in Formula One, though, when you crash these, I think it's probably just always fatal.
It could very well be.
Not just mostly fatal,
That's
right?
when they tell you that flying's safer than taking a car. I'm like, but how many times have you wrecked your car and been fine, walked away, right? Like if you wreck in a plane, that's the statistic I'm worried about.
Believe it or
not
not,
the amount of times it goes down, but the amount of people that survive if it does.
You'd be really surprised how many people survive Class A incidents in airliners and stuff.
I would be.
It's very high. Yeah, the guy that landed the Airbus in the Hudson River.
Says the guy that flies frequently. I mean, you should know, right? But then again, right?
Dude,
you wouldn't want to say.
I don't lose an ounce of sleep, bro. I get on them planes and just pass out. Like Ron White said, just hit something hard. I don't want to limp away from this thing.
Right.
So this one comes from Defense One. Artificial intelligence outperforms human intel analysts in key area.
I feel like that's probably not going to be too hard to do.
Oh, ye of little faith, Mr. Smith?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Have you been paying attention?
AI is not like the best it could be, so.
Defense Intelligence Agency experiment shows AI and humans have different risk tolerances when data is scarce. In the 1983 movie War Games, the world is brought to the edge of nuclear destruction when a military computer using artificial intelligence interprets false data as an imminent Soviet missile strike. Its human overseers in the Defense Department, unsure whether the data is real, can't convince the AI it may be wrong. A recent finding from the Defense Intelligence Agency, or DIA, suggests that in a real situation where humans and AI were looking at enemy activity, those positions would be reversed.
Dude, it's not even real intelligence. It's artificial.
Yeah, but
Just joking.
artificial intelligence is not reacting. It doesn't have a fear-based reaction.
Yes, right. So intrinsically more
Necessarily.
patient and more observant and more waiting for more data.
Willing to let the data, I think, is what they're going to say. Artificial intelligence can actually be more cautious than humans about its conclusions. In situations when data is limited, while the results are preliminary, they offer an important glimpse into how humans and AI will complement one another in critical national security fields. I bet the AI would have told us that we needed to start stockpiling fucking PPE and masks and shit like that way before. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Because my computer keeps telling me I need to back it up to OneDrive. It's always worried about that kind of thing.
You don't give a shit, right?
You're right, and I normally don't, but my point is just that it's worried before I am, right?
Way before you are.
Yeah, it's like, dude, are you ever going to back this up? It's been like, and it gives me a date, and I'm like,
okay. DIA analyzes activity for militaries around the globe. Terry Bush, the technical director of the agency's Machine-Assisted Analytic Rapid Repository System, or MARS for short, on Monday joined a Defense One viewcast to discuss the agency's effort to incorporate AI into the analysis and decision-making. Earlier this year, Bush's team set up a test between a human and AI. The first part was simple enough. Use available data to determine whether a particular ship was in U.S. waters. Quote, 4 analysts came up with 4 methodologies, and the machine came up with 2 different methodologies, and that was cool. They all agreed that this particular ship was in the United States, he said. So far, so good. Humans and machines using available data can reach similar conclusions. Second phase of the experiment tested something different, conviction. Got to have a convicted AI, Mr. Smith.
artificial conviction.
Artificial conviction. Would humans and machines be equally certain in their conclusions if less data were available? The experimenters severed the connection to the automatic identification systems, or AIS, which tracks ships worldwide. Quote, it's pretty easy to find something if you have the AIS feed because that's going to tell you exactly where a ship is located in the world. If we took that away, how does that change confidence, and do the machine and the humans get to the same end state? In theory, the less data the human analysts should be less certain in their conclusions, like the characters in war games. After all, humans understand nuance and can conceptualize a wide variety of outcomes. The researchers found the opposite. Once we begin to take away sources, everyone was left with the same source material, which was numerous reports, generally social media, open source kinds of things, blah, 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 blah. So the difference was that the machine and those responsible for doing the machine learning took far less risk in confidence than the humans did.
Scanning, please wait.
The machine actually does a better job of lowering its confidence than the humans do.
Yes, we have testosterone, so.
It says there's a little bit of humor in that because the machine still thinks they're pretty right. I heard that sort of landing in this same space, we're starting to get data from self-driving vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it kind of are going to hoover this shit up as a byproduct of them self-driving you, right? And we're starting to find out that almost without question, the self-driving cars are better drivers than the human beings. So if we know that humans, we would have a lot less accidents if humans didn't drive cars, but we're sort of a organic backup system, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to reach a time where your insurance is going to be affected not by how much you drive the car versus the AI, but how much the AI drives the car versus you. And you know, like it could impact you financially.
Sure. I mean, they already have that in play to some degree with normal cars. They've got modules that you can plug into your vehicle or apps that you can have on your phone
Right.
that tells you if you're going over 80, under 80, if you're accelerating or
Right.
decelerating too quickly, what time of day, where you went, and it all factors into how much you
Yeah.
pay or don't pay.
I just did a long drive, continuous drive, 24 hours, pretty much straight.
Mm.
And I did it in a vehicle that steers itself. It has that kind of level of cruise control. It's a Toyota that has lane trace, is what they call it. So it's kind of like it's not like Elon Musk's Tesla level, take me to this address and turn the TV on and it'll just take you there. It's not that at all, but what it will do is it will control your speed and following distance, and it will keep you in a marked lane. It has enough intelligence that it'll keep your vehicle in a marked lane. And to do a drive like this, with the thought is always that if you have a vehicle that does all the driving, you're going to have more of a tendency to get bored and fall asleep. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the opposite. It's because it's not tiring in any way. Matter of fact, it's kind of nice, and you get to look around a lot more and sort of you can be stimulated by things a lot more than just being focused on the road in front of you.
Sure, yeah.
So I find that it has kind of the opposite effect. I find that having that actually keeps you awake longer. Instead of being stuck in one position, you can sort of move around, move your feet, you can get comfortable. You can do a lot more things that you can't do or probably shouldn't do.
Sure, yeah.
When you're in full command of the vehicle.
You can, like, eat a taco more efficiently, I'm
sure.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, I'm not saying that because, it has, all that CarPlay stuff, so sending a text message is a voice thing anyway. But it sort of it detaches you from all the ways that you can fucking make things worse, and only attaches you to the ways that you can make things better. So I can see it coming because I just did this huge ass drive and it was a fucking dream.
Wow.
With the lane trace, it was amazing. So I can, like when I hear, people are sleeping in their Teslas and stuff, I don't think they're the majority by any stretch in any way either. I got just anecdotal data anyway. Let's see. Do I want to say? So one of the other things that's come out of the whole COVID, whatever you want to call this clusterfuck, Forbes magazine says that new survey shows 47% an increase in productivity. 3 things you must do when working from home. But so they're seeing remarkable increases in people's productivity not coming to the office.
I wouldn't know. I went to the office every day.
Yeah, no, you have nothing's fucking changed for you, has it?
No.
It's crazy. Without using spyware or capturing keystrokes, a California-based company has tracked a 47% increase in worker productivity based on non-invasive technology that doesn't grab user passwords, credit card info, or other sensitive data. An eye-opening survey shows that smart companies are gaining by having workers work from home. What does the data tell us about how employees and team leaders can maximize output during the new normal? I don't want to even fucking get into that, dude, to be honest with you. My point is that there's a lot of shit that's changing because of this that isn't going to go back to the old way it was.
Yeah. Probably for the better, which that seems to indicate that it would be.
Right, that's ridiculous. Why do you have a brick and mortar building you got to pay insurance on, maintenance, upkeep, all of this stuff on? At least one the size that you have. Put people together that are going to gossip, talk, find distractions when clearly there's a much larger benefit than to letting these people stay home and paying them to stay home.
To be by themselves and concentrate on work.
On their job and take pride, without being distracted. None of the gossip, the office politics, Susie's fucking Bobby's, whatever.
So-and-so hates so-and-so and is trying to undermine so-and-so. Reindeer games.
So I've been lucky enough that in my career, for the most part, I've worked in jobs where I left the office constantly and was able to get away from a lot of that. Everybody stuck in there. But man, what a corrosive fucking... Ugh. So anyway... I think some companies and shit are going to be getting rid of their fucking buildings here and downsizing those huge assets that are just costing them huge amounts of money.
I just found out I was making as much as my manager.
Damn, good for you, brother.
Yeah, and like
Congrats.
somehow I've succeeded in continuing to get raises and opportunities without increasing the responsibility
Yeah.
and needing to be involved in the
It's
games.
wonderful, isn't it?
It is.
What a great place to be, bub.
I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
All right, we got one article here left, Mr. Smith, and we will wrap up. But I know you got a jet. We sort of had to condense this into an hour, which is why I've been flying through
But
this.
for good cause.
Yeah, big time. One of the guys I play with, his online name's Reverend. He's the bishop of the Church of Cthulhu that we all attend now. So shout out to Rev. But he sent me this.
HP Lovecraft fan.
Yeah, big time. So he and I were talking about this the other night, and he went and found these articles and shot them over to me, and I wanted to put them on here because I had seen this come through my news feed but didn't pull it up. This is from Slash Gear. I don't know the source. This isn't from my normal vetting process, and even Reverend warned me that he wasn't familiar, but researchers reach world's fastest internet speed with an optical chip. Funky looking size. We've seen the internet groan, metaphorically, of course, under the weight of the sudden increase in users and usage in the past months. The global situation proved how ill-prepared our technologies are to support such a scenario, especially and when it becomes the new, quote, normal. Various companies like SpaceX and Amazon are looking to the stars to augment our internet capabilities, but a cross-university team of Australian researchers was able to reach a whopping 44 terabytes per second data speed with existing optic fiber networks, but a new optical chip. To put that speed into context, the researchers at RMIT, Monash, and Swinburne universities explained that it would be enough to download 1,000 high-definition movies in less than 1 second.
Blammo.
While the benefits for media and game streaming services are almost too obvious, the real achievement here is that it was done without an already existing fiber optic line.
Well, that makes sense.
So this is happening.
I mean,
Yeah.
this fiber optic light's going to travel at the speed of light, so it makes sense you could still pull it off over those lines.
Right.
It had to have been the chips that were the bottleneck. And all
The electronics.
That. Yeah.
Right. And the article says, the real hero, Mr. Smith, however, is the new optical chip that was the single light source for that high-speed data transfer. A photonic chip the size of a fingernail was placed in the researcher's optical microcomb. That's a thing. Device to produce a rainbow of infrared light, unlike the usual pulses of light used on traditional optical fiber. This is analog over fiber, bro.
Oh,
this allowed data to use different light frequencies, effectively increasing the bandwidth of the single fiber.
That's like being able to listen to all of those radio stations on your radio
all at the
once.
Same time.
Yeah. Yeah, with just the processor to separate that shit, which your brain couldn't do.
Wow. I get it. It makes perfect sense.
It's almost one of those
whole light spectrum.
It's almost, right, like one of those moments. See, I was going to say this earlier, Matt, when we were talking about the links that people went to connect bizarre shit.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, you know what we really need is somebody to read a chemistry book and find a way to put something together that has never been done before, but just with science, just like this.
Yeah, exactly
we need
like
somebody to understand the frequencies of light and be able to use those to transmit data in a way that's not been done before, to understand it and then make that leap of imagination that allows you to say, oh, look, we could do this all at once and just separate it quicker. Yeah. That's what we need.
Like
we don't need different things that don't.
I don't talk
connect.
about politics because I prefer to talk about things that's actually going to change the quality of life for people.
And that shows that if you're clever
There's
with science, you can still
there.
invent things and connect things. You don't have to just make up stuff in your head to connect.
Right.
You could actually
There's
connect shit like this.
Real shit in the world. Fascinating shit. We don't need the woo.
Yeah. And look at what a difference this will make. They'll be able to make optical chips that you can put on your like glasses that when you blink or twitch your eye, it will send data into a video game. I mean, with that kind of speed and processing, the amount of control you get in a virtual world will also expand to that nervous system rate.
Well, and
right?
where we've been worried that our existing infrastructure is woefully undersized as
hmm
far as data communication. Now you're taking existing technology and you're cramming thousands of times more data through. So all of a
Yeah.
sudden, this little tiny pipe just got
Yeah.
enormous,
Right.
and there's all this capacity. Now we'll fill it
Sure
because
we
that's what
will.
we do,
Right.
right? But we'll fill it. But while the achievement in and itself is already a record breaker, the implications of this new technology are even more significant in light of current circumstances. The need for internet access and even high-speed internet access, has grown exponentially in the past few months, but the speed of innovation and the new networking technologies and materials is not as fast. The fact that this optical chip source can be used with existing optic fiber networks can help scale up internet bandwidth without having to overhaul the internet infrastructure.
This sort of thing would make transporters obsolete in the sense that if you could transfer so much data that you really don't need to be there in person,
Anyways,
yeah,
yeah.
then why would you
Well,
even need to transport someplace?
We're already living very much in a world where we have a projected
Yeah,
version of
like an
ourselves.
astral projection. That's what I mean. It's more like an astral projection with information, like more than you could carry with you if you were to beam to that place, right? Or whatever. So I mean, it's almost more efficient to stay where you're at and send your ideas, concepts, thoughts, and projection
Right.
to some other place.
This is Moore's law again, too.
Mm.
Okay, so of course that will all still depend on how feasible it will be to mass produce these chips. The researchers envision that costs would be low enough that it could be deployed for the general public and not just limited to exclusive domain of data-hungry data centers.
Yeah, microchips are fairly
It's
inexpensive.
getting there, yeah. And we haven't even started fucking around at we just started messing around at like the atomic level of wafer thinness and stuff.
Yeah.
And with graphene and that's all making as we're starting to head into
Mhm.
that material science makes a lot of that shit sort of possible too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's coming. I mean, there's no if we've talked about this, man. If you and I grew up in a world where things changed fairly rapidly.
Mhm.
We did. Okay, we went from black and white TVs to color televisions to cable. We went from wired phones to cordless phones to cellular phones. We moved into the internet.
TV was wireless and then it became wired.
And for us, it looks like the world's changing rapidly.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what it would be for like what it's like for our grandparents and shit?
Oh yeah.
With how much faster. And our kids drink from the fucking fire hose.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
To them, it's no big deal. To us, it's like, God damn, everything's changing. And the fear that must come from that, because
We've
it's
talked
an
about that before
accelerating
too. That's
curve.
called future shock.
Yeah.
That's like an actual thing where technology is increasing so fast that the human condition can't keep up with it. So like when
It's easy to throw the okay boomer, like that whole thing, like you're just an old fuddy-duddy, you don't get it. But that's not respecting the way how much more rapidly and daily more rapidly their worlds are changing versus yours or ours.
But these kids will go through the same process
when they reach that age.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's
unless we reach
tradition.
some sort of weird convergence and we plateau.
Well, then that
can't
would be
go any further.
transhumanism, and then these concepts would be null and void.
Yeah, but we can't even discuss transhumanism as a theory anymore, though.
Right, it's a possibility.
It's not just a possibility; it's happening.
Well, I mean, a possibility for humanity. It's
a big
happening
one.
now.
It's happening regardless.
It could be a possibility for all of humanity.
Well, with this kind of bandwidth, we could upload ourselves to the Matrix or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could probably project that much information and more. You wouldn't have to go anywhere or upload yourself to anything.
Right. Just project yourself there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smell-o-vision's coming.
There is only one neural node that decodes your olfactory senses as opposed to the hundreds and millions that decode all the other four senses. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's the basis behind aromatherapy.
Oh, that makes sense.
And why a smell will take you back
Shit
to
works.
a place in time. Quickly.
That shit works, yeah. If it didn't, they wouldn't use it so much in sales, like in selling houses. They bake chocolate chip cookies in them and shit. Like those and there's like new car smell sprays.
Dude, I've used that for years. Renting places, knowing when the landlord's going to come over, and I'll start making dinner because they're coming over just to make it homey.
Yeah. It smells good and all
Yeah.
that. So then they just fuck off faster.
Pretty much. They sometimes even get hungry and leave.
Well, and it makes them feel like they're like, oh man, I don't want to interrupt your dinner. Like that's kind of
and you can offer them stuff.
Faux pas.
Yeah. It's just it puts you at a bit of a more of an advantage and them at a disadvantage psychologically speaking. And those are always fun games to play. I mean, after all, that's why I will invite any Mormon or Jehovah Witness or Orthodox Jew or whatever into my house to discuss their cosmology of things.
Yeah, an interesting dude, Mr. Smith. All right, Bubba, let's wrap up there. You got anything else we need to, is there anything else we needed to touch on tonight before we put this in the can? All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Give us a share. We greatly appreciate it. Leave us a comment. We might either read it on the show, and if you're really snarky, we'll answer you back.
Or Matt will tell you, hey, answer you back, because I don't watch the shows or read the comments. I'm sorry. I try.
No, that would... Never mind. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.